Namaskar, this is live from New Delhi. You're watching DT India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and coming up in the next 30 minutes. India slams Pakistan for conducting Pak-occupied Kashmir Assembly elections as cosmetic exercise, says Pakistan is using polls to camouflage illegal occupation and gross human rights violations. Lok Sabha discusses the Public Examination Prevention of Unfair Means Amendment Bill 2026, focus on stricter punishments and faster prosecution. Prime Minister Narendra Modi meets members of Parliament from Assam, assures all help in prevailing flood situation in the state. And at least one person killed as a house collapsed during a 7.1 magnitude earthquake in southwestern Japan. Multiple people remain missing. And now our top story. India on Tuesday has dismissed the ongoing legislative assembly elections in Pakistan-occupied Jammu Kashmir as a cosmetic electoral exercise, a hogwash, accusing Pakistan of attempting to legitimize its illegal occupation of the region while concealing what New Delhi described as persistent human rights violations and administrative repression.
India's position on this particular matter has been clear, consistent and well known. The entire Union territories of Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh, including the areas currently under illegal occupation and forcible occupation of Pakistan, are integral and inedible parts of India. The current cosmetic electoral exercise is nothing but an attempt by Pakistan to camouflage its illegal occupation and hide its grave human rights violations in the region. As we have stated earlier, the ongoing mass protests in the Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, of which you are aware, you would have seen the latest visuals from there, are the direct consequences of its economic exploitation, its denial of fundamental rights to the people, and their administrative oppression.
And now moving on to some reports of Pakistan Army's brutality in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir region. Well, on Monday, Pakistani security forces used excessive force against protesters in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. At least 17 people were reportedly killed in the firing, while more than 24 others were injured. The incident has once again drawn international attention and criticism to Pakistan's actions in the region. The forces opened indiscriminate fire as the rally was heading towards Muzaffarabad. Protesters strongly condemned the shooting and called on the international community, the Muslim Ummah and the United Nations to intervene immediately. Reports also claim that since the protests began, a total of 91 people have been killed in the firing by Pakistani security forces over the past 2 months. After 52 days of continuous demonstrations, the situation remains tense, with demonstrators demanding the release of detainees, withdrawal of cases against protesters, and acceptance of their broader demands. Well, the Lok Sabha has taken up the Public Examination Prevention of Unfair Means Amendment Bill 2026 for consideration and passing. The bill seeks to amend the Public Examination Prevention of Unfair Means Act 2024. The legislation incorporates several significant provisions, including stringent penalties such as imprisonment for up to 10 years, fines of up to 10 crore rupees, and the seizure of the properties of convicted offenders. To ensure the expeditious disposal of cases, the legislation mandates that every state government and union territory administration establish special fast-track courts for the day-to-day trial. Moving the bill, Minister of State for Personnel, Public Grievances and Pensions, Dr. Jitendra Singh, said the new legislation reaffirms the government's deep commitment to safeguard the welfare of the students and the youth of this country.
Senior direct management persons or director के लिए the imprisonment was 3 to 10 years in the earlier act. We are increasing it to 5 to 10 years, and the fine was up to 1 crore. It has been increased to 5 crore. So organized crime that is examination authority or service provider institution, whatever, in that case the imprisonment earlier was 5 to 10 years. It's been increased to 7 to 10 years. And the fine was earlier up to 1 crore. It is now proposed to be increased to 10 crore.
In other news, US President Donald Trump will be hosting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House. And it will be Benjamin Netanyahu's 8th meeting with President Trump since Trump returned to office, and the first since February. The visit is also expected to include a memorial service for the late Senator Lindsey Graham, a longtime supporter of Israel. In an interview on Sunday, Netanyahu said that he planned to discuss all pending issues with President Trump, including Iran. He also praised Graham as one of Israel's greatest friends and said it was fitting to honor him. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has launched a fresh effort on Tuesday to coax Cyprus's rival sides back into peace talks after nearly a decade of deadlock. Guterres, whose terms expires at the end of the 2026, met Greek Cypriot leader Nikos Christodoulidas and Turkish Cypriot leader Tufan Eruhurman separately on Tuesday. The three will hold joint talks on Wednesday in the UN-controlled buffer zone that divides the island. During the meeting with Eruhurman, Guterres said the UN is committed to supporting both sides in their search for a solution.
I'd like to say once more that I come to express my solidarity with the people of Cyprus and my engagement in finding or helping to find both with the Cypriots but also with the guarantors a solution, and at the same time to see if confidence building measures are developed in a way that is beneficial for the people of both sides. And I had two very constructive meetings with the leaders of the two communities.
President-elect Keiko Fujimori to be sworn in as the Peru's president today. The 51-year-old politician carries the weight of her surname. Her father spent some 16 years in prison for human rights abuses, and the record of her party, Fureza Popular, over the past decade, which supported laws in Congress. Keiko Fujimori ran in 2011, 2016 and 2021, and on each occasion lost by a narrow margin in the second round. She was under investigation for a decade for allegedly receiving irregular funds from the Brazilian company Odebrecht. In October of last year, the Constitutional Court dismissed the money laundering case, citing procedural irregularities. Fujimori, leader of the right-wing Fureza Popular Party, was declared president-elect on July 3rd after defeating leftist rival Roberto Sanchez in a highly contested runoff election. And shifting focus to this massive earthquake that rocked Japan, where at least one person was killed when a house collapsed during a 7.1 magnitude earthquake in southwestern Japan. The shallow tremor registered the maximum intensity of 7 on Japan's Shindo scale and triggered emergency warnings across Kumamoto, Nagasaki, Kagoshima, Fukuoka, Saga, Oita and Miyazaki prefectures. A tsunami advisory for waves up to 1 meter was issued for coastal areas of Ariake and Yatsushiro areas. Seas, however, it has now been lifted. The US Pacific Tsunami Warning Center also confirmed no threat to Hawaiian or American Samoa. Meanwhile, reports of what sounds like an explosion or sounded like an explosion at an Aeon Mall in Kumamoto Prefecture were also received after the major earthquake. Emergency services and local fire officials confirmed multiple shoppers and individuals remain trapped inside the damaged shopping complex in Kashima town. Japan's Kumamoto police say there are quite a few presumed dead after the mall's explosion. Japan's national broadcaster NHK has reported at least 50 people were taken to the hospital with injuries. 12 houses collapsed and 4 cases of people trapped were also reported. Meanwhile, Japanese Prime Minister Sane Takaichi has said that several injuries, collapsed buildings and fires have been reported after this massive earthquake.
We are still assessing the extent of casualties and property damage, but we have already received reports of people being injured. There are also areas experiencing power outages and fires, as well as damage to roads and bridges and the collapse of buildings. Above all, I ask everyone to take action to protect themselves, including evacuating to a safe place. As this is also a time when people may be preparing dinner, please exercise extreme caution when handling fire.
France and Spain are battling some of the worst wildfires, with firefighters working round the clock to control the flames before a fresh heat wave hits Western Europe. The massive fires have destroyed forests, damaged properties and forced thousands of people to evacuate in both countries. In France's Bordeaux region, the wildfire has spread across around 42,000 hectares of land, forcing over 2 lakh people to leave their homes and destroying hundreds of houses. In Spain, fires have affected nearly 77,000 hectares, with around 60,000 people evacuated from the affected areas. Authorities have allowed some residents to return home, but several fires remain active in Madrid and nearby regions. Meanwhile, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez says firefighters are beginning to see light at the end of the tunnel in their battle against some of the country's worst forest fires.
We have expressed our resignation to all those men and women who fight the fire on the front line in very difficult, very critical hours. But thanks to them, we are indeed turning the tide, and therefore we can begin to see the light at the end of the tunnel in the fight against these fires with every precaution, especially during the complex days and hours ahead.
And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Coming up next on the other side, we get you government approving RBI proposal to introduce polymer banknotes in the denominations of 10 and 20 rupees. And we bring you all the updates from Glasgow 2026 Commonwealth Games. Good news for India. You're watching TT India Live. I'm Sakal Bhatt. Vice President of India, C.P. Radhakrishnan, released 5 commemorative books marking 4 years of the presidency of Draupadi Murmu at Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi. The 5 books, Rashtrapati Bhavan, Rashtra Ka Bhavan, Seva, Samaveshi Evam Sakal Bhagidari, Utsav and Hamara Gaurav, collectively preserve the values that have defined these 4 years. President Murmu has adorned the highest constitutional office with grace, humility, wisdom and an unwavering commitment to the letter and spirit of the Constitution. Speaking on the occasion, President Murmu said that such initiatives such as Janjatiya Darpan and Sutrakala have been launched to honor tribal heritage.
पिछले 4 वर्षों में राष्ट्रपति भवन में देश की सोच और प्रगति को व्यक्त करने के लिए अनेक कदम उठाए गए हैं। एक और जहां विरासत को सम्मान देने के लिए जनजातीय दर्पण और सूत्रकला दर्पण की स्थापना की गई है। जनजातीय दर्पण इसलिए किया गया है, बहुत सारे लोग जो मेट्रोपॉलिटन में रहते हैं, जो इस तरह के परिस्थिति से कभी रूबरू नहीं हुए हैं कि देश कैसे है और देश कैसे में कैसे कैसे लोग रहते हैं, उनके बारे जानकारी का, उनके जीवन शैली को जानकारी का उनका होना चाहिए।
Well, let's get you some news from the northeastern state of Assam, inundated with flood situation. The situation has shown further signs of improvement on Tuesday, but the crisis is far from over, with over 445,000 people still affected across 6 districts of the state. According to the latest Assam State Disaster Management Authority report, Sivasagar, Charaidio, Golaghat, Jorhat, Nagaon and Kamrup Metro continue to remain affected. Charaideo continues to be the worst hit district with over 188,000 people affected, followed by Sivasagar with more than 144,000 people and Jorhat with over 74,000 affected residents. Rescue and relief operations are continuing in the affected districts with the deployment of at least 179 medical teams and 67 rescue boats. Authorities remain on alert and have urged residents in vulnerable areas to stay cautious and follow official advisories. The flood has also caused widespread damage to infrastructure and livestock. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday met members of the parliament from Assam and discussed the prevailing flood situation in various parts of the state. In a post on platform X, the Prime Minister said that the centre is working closely with the Assam government in assisting those affected and prayed for everyone's safety and well-being. The centre has been closely monitoring the situation with union ministers reviewing ground efforts and interministerial teams assessing damage. Rescue and relief work by NDRF, SDRF and state agencies remain underway. Well, India no longer sees itself just a continental power, but a maritime power with its strategic neighbourhood no longer confined to South Asia. India's influence extends across the Middle East to the Western Pacific Ocean. This was Lieutenant General Syed Atta Hasnain's concept of India's strategic neighbourhood, which he outlined in the 9th Air Commodore Jasjeet Singh Memorial Lecture in Delhi today.
India's neighborhood is no longer defined by contiguous land borders, which is what the common mindset of people in India has always been. And we are essentially a land-centric, a continental power, a land-centric thinking power, and that has been the limit of our thinking. But now, as you can see, it is defined actually by the geography of India's interests. Our minds were restricted to South Asia only being the neighborhood. Now you can see that from the continental borders to the Indian Ocean, the Persian Gulf, the Red Sea, Central Asia, where the old great game was played and the new great game is on today, the Bay of Bengal, ASEAN, the Western Pacific, and this is all that forms the strategic neighborhood.
The government has approved the Reserve Bank of India's proposal to introduce polymer banknotes in the denominations of 10 and 20 rupees. In a written reply in the lower house, Minister of State for Finance Pankaj Chaudhary informed that the RBI had sent a proposal to the government for the introduction of 1 billion pieces each of 10 and 20 rupees polymer banknotes for field trials. He said the regular issuance of polymer banknotes in the two denominations will be done after the successful completion of field trials. The minister said the RBI had informed that as per the international studies, the lifespan of polymer banknotes is significantly higher than that of paper banknotes. He added that the introduction of polymer banknotes is currently in a preliminary phase and the impact on digital payments could be ascertained only after regular issuance of these notes. Well, the International Monetary Fund has approved a final disbursement of about $371 million to Ghana, the last tranche under the country's $3 billion support program. International Monetary Fund says that after completing its sixth and final review, that Ghana's performance under the program was broadly satisfactory, citing stronger physical performance, higher foreign reserves and progress in restructuring public debt. Ghana turned to the IMF in 2022 as spiraling debt, soaring inflation and a plunging currency worsened by the economic fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine pushed the country into crises. The $3 billion program was approved in May 2023. The country's current president, John Mahama, was swept into office in a December 2024 vote amid the gold and cocoa-rich country's worst economic turmoil in years. Uganda is officially Ebola-free after health officials declared the end of the recent outbreak on Tuesday. The virus infected 20 individuals and caused 2 deaths since its initial declaration in mid-May. The East African country has successfully contained the spread of the rare Bundibugyo Ebola virus strain. The final infected patient recovered was discharged on July 16th. This release triggered the official 42-day World Health Organization countdown required to declare the end of an active outbreak. 15 of the record cases were imported from the neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo, where a larger epidemic is still ongoing. Well, Johnson & Johnson has agreed to pay $5.5 billion to settle nearly all remaining lawsuits claiming its talcum-based baby powder caused ovarian cancer, ending a legal battle that has lasted more than a decade. The settlement covers about 69,000 federal cases and related state lawsuits, resolving 99.75% of the remaining talc claims. The agreement comes days after a federal judge questioned whether plaintiffs could prove that talc directly caused ovarian cancer. Johnson & Johnson now continues to deny these claims and allegations, maintaining its talcum products were safe and asbestos-free. The company stopped selling talcum-based baby powder in US in 2020, replacing it with the cornstarch version. The lawsuits resumed in March 2025 after Johnson & Johnson's repeated attempts to resolve the claims through a subsidiary's bankruptcy were rejected by courts. Well, the human liver works around the clock to keep us healthy, but what happens when it's under attack without even showing any symptoms? That's dangerous. Hepatitis is one of the world's most overlooked health threats, and in spite of its severity, many don't even know that they have it. World Hepatitis Day is observed on 28th July every year to raise awareness on one of the most resilient organs of the body. Preeti Kaur of DD India reports.
Hepatitis, inflammation of the liver, is often called the silent invader. It is primarily caused by viral infections but can also stem from non-viral sources like alcohol use, toxins, or autoimmune responses. Affecting more than 300 million people worldwide, hepatitis comes in many forms, from short-lived to life-threatening. Hepatitis A, typically a short-term illness spread via the fecal-oral route, it resolves on its own without permanent liver damage. Hepatitis B, transmitted through exposure to infected body fluids. If it becomes a long-term infection, it can cause cirrhosis or liver cancer. Hepatitis C spreads almost exclusively through blood contact, such as sharing and injection equipment. It often shows no symptoms for decades while silently damaging the liver. Hepatitis D, an uncommon strain that requires the presence of hepatitis B to replicate inside the body. It significantly accelerates liver damage. Hepatitis E, similar to hepatitis A, it spreads through contaminated drinking water and poor sanitation. While usually mild, it carries a high risk of liver failure in pregnant women. Hepatitis has evolved as a global health concern that affects millions of people. According to WHO, chronic viral hepatitis causes 1.3 million deaths annually, with hepatitis B and C the silent primary drivers of liver cancer and cirrhosis. In India, 40 million people are chronically infected with hepatitis B and 6 to 12 million with hepatitis C. World Hepatitis Day is observed every year on 28th of July to raise awareness on viral hepatitis and inflammation of the liver that causes severe liver disease and liver cancer. The theme for 2026, Hepatitis, Let's Break It Down, is a call to remove the barriers that stand between people and the services that can save their lives. Hepatitis treatment in India includes antiviral medicines, supportive rest, and government programs like the National Viral Hepatitis Control Program that aims to eliminate hepatitis C by 2030 and reduce illness and deaths caused by hepatitis A, B, C, and E. Hepatitis is a preventable and manageable disease when detected early. Awareness, vaccination, and timely treatment are the foundations of better liver health and disease prevention. Preeti Kaur's report, DD India.
And in sports, some fantastic news coming in from India. For India, Sharmila Dhankar has scripted history by becoming India's first Commonwealth Games para-athletics gold medalist. Sharmila Dhankar has won the gold medal, while Shilpa Shaila has claimed the bronze medal in the women's para-shot put F57 event. Sharmila delivered a landmark performance with a season best effort of 9.81 meters. Her triumph ended India's 20-year wait for a para-athletics medal at the Games. The last para-athletics medal in Commonwealth Games was won by Ranjit Kumar Jayaseelan way back in 2006. And that's all for you in this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. So we'll be back with more as the news breaks here on DD India Live. I'm Sakal Bhatt and follow us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.